One of the things I want you to remember as you're going through and learning Excel is, I'll tell you a number of things as we go along, but a major thing that applies to Excel, no matter how complicated Excel gets or how simple it gets, is that when you're using formulas and functions, use what are called cell references rather than numbers. And what I mean by that is, if we take this fairly simple example, we want to find out what 5 plus 5 is. Now in my head, of course, I know that's 11, but let's just double check that using a formula or function. So using a cell reference, I want to say, I want to add 5 plus 5, but what I really want to do is add this cell, which is E4, and this cell, which is F4. So over here where I'm going to figure out the total, I put an equal sign, and you always start with an equal sign in a formula or a function, equals this cell reference plus this cell reference. So all I want to do is find out what's in those two cells. It happens to be 5 and 5 right now. So I total, and it's not 11, it's 10. On the other hand, I can come down here and try to bypass the beauty, the wonder, the joy that is Excel and just type in actual numbers. So instead of using cell references, I go in here and I say equals 5 plus 5, and it still equals 10. So right now, if nothing changes, it's all copacetic, everything's wonderful. But look what happens if I change the number. So really, this number, excuse me, should have been 10. So using the cell reference, and remember, use cell references up here, if I change this to 10, this automatically updates the number. Down here, where I just use numbers, if I change this to 10, this automatically doesn't get updated. Now this is a very simple example, but imagine if you have a very complicated worksheet with a whole bunch of different numbers in there, and the numbers change. You want to automate it as much as possible, and how you automate it is using cell references in formulas and functions instead of numbers. So I'm going to hammer that home to you over and over, and you'll probably see it in your homework. If you do it, I'll send it back to you and say, always use cell references rather than numbers. This is a simple example, but I want you to get that buried in your brain to use cell references instead of numbers. I hope that makes sense to you. Thanks for listening.